In this video, we'll be going over majority elements. So given array nums of size n, return the majority elements. The majority elements is the element that appears more than floor of n divided by 2 times. You may assume that the majority elements always exist in the input array. So in our first example, we're given 3, 2, 3. And 3 is the majority element because 3 appears 2 times and the size of the array is 3, so it appears 2 out of 3 times, which is greater than the floor of n divided by 2 times. Let's go over the dot process. So if we are given the input array x, y, x, y, x, how can we find the majority element? We can see that the first x cancels out the first y, and the second x cancels out the second y. This will leave us the last x as the majority elements. We can keep track of the frequency counts of the current majority elements. Then for each of the elements, num in the input array, if num is equal to the current majority elements, we can increment the count. Then if num is not equal to the current majority elements, we can decrement the count. Then if our count ever reaches 0, we will update the majority elements. Now let's go over the pseudocode. So we're going to create the following variables. The first one is the majority elements. And then we have a count, the frequency of the current majority elements. Then we're going to iterate through the elements of nums, which is the input array, denote it as num. Now if count is equal to 0, we need to update the current majority elements. Then we're going to set majority to the current number, and then we're going to set counts to 1, which is to account for the current number. Then we can continue to the next iteration. Now if num is equal to majority, then we can increment the count, else we'll decrement the count. Then we can return the majority elements. Now let's go over the time and space complexity. For the time complexity, we get O of n, where n is the length of the input array. We visit each element once. And our space complexity is O of 1. Now let's go over the code. So we're going to create two variables, the majority and also the frequency of the majority. Then we iterate the elements in the array. If count is equal to 0, we need to update the current majority elements to the current number and then set count to 1. Then we can continue to the next iteration. Now we'll update our counts. If num is equal to the current majority elements, we're going to increment the counts, else we're going to decrement the count. Now we're going to return the majority elements. Let me know if any questions in the comment section below.